we're going, so anytime.
All right. When you think about racial justice in Vermont, what issues, stories, or concerns come to mind?
The first thing that comes to mind is the lack of diversity that we have here in Vermont. I know that I was the only one in my elementary school, the only black kid in my elementary school from 1st to 5th grade until my brother, who's 12, who's also of color, came into the elementary school as well, which I think leads into the lack of knowledge that a lot of teachers have. I know that reading books in elementary school and middle school, whenever the N-word would come up, the teachers would freeze and not know what to do, making the class very awkward and uncomfortable, and all eyes turn on the person of color. And I think that the lack of diversity in employees and teachers is also a big concern that comes to mind, because it's showing a lot of kids here that there aren't a lot of employees and teachers that are of color elsewhere in the world.
Why is racial justice an important issue to address in Vermont?
I think the first reason that it's important to address in Vermont is that without the awareness of racial justice and a lot of the racist things happening, that it's really hard for people to empathize, which I think is really hurting the people of color. And I think that the second thing is that without teachers knowing how to respond to different racist things happening in schools with kids, that the kids are going to continue doing it, making it harder and harder to get back from that.
What actions can we take in Vermont to improve racial justice in our communities?
The first thing I think we can do is for the teachers and adults in Vermont to seek more educational opportunities. For example, my mom, who works with Windham Family Services, went to Burlington with her colleagues as well as other social workers around Vermont to hear Ken Hardy and Nakia Young talk about white fragility and how to talk about race. I found it very eye-opening, as well as most of the people there, with hearing their feedback, and I think that a lot of teachers and adults around here should hear it as well. I think the second action we can take is to elect more people of color into office so they can be role models to both kids of color and also to advocate for people of color as well. And the third thing is that I think we should add more diversity counselors into schools. We have one at Brattleboro Union High School, but I know that Leland and Gray does not have one. I'm not sure about other schools around Vermont. I know that we have diversity days to help teach the kids about diversity, and I think that if other schools did that as well, that it might help the kids learn a little bit more about diversity.